welcome to my channel. If you guys have never been here before, my name is Allie and I am a flight attendant here in the United States. And in my channel you can find a little bit of everything. I vlog about the flight attendant life, so I bring you guys over on my trips and I show you guys just a little bit about the flight attendant life, and then I also show you how I balance that along with motherhood. I am married and I have two little boys. I have a 6-year-old and a 7-month-old baby, so I am definitely busy, but I love to share this journey with you guys. So if it's your first time here, I hope that you guys subscribe and that you follow me over on social media as well. I will have everything linked in the description box below for you guys to follow me. But for today's video, I'm actually going to be talking to you guys about how you can become a flight attendant. I get this question all the time. I get messages of people asking me how they can become flight attendants. So I can only speak for the United States. I can't really comment on Canada or just anywhere outside of the United States because I'm not sure what their requirements are or anything of the sort. So if you guys are interested, I do know of a few flight attendant vloggers that are international, so I'm sure you can find them online as well. So just type in flight attendant and I'm sure a lot of us will pop up. So I want to help you guys in this process. It is a lengthy process. It requires a lot of patience. It requires you to, it really actually makes you think, how bad do you want this job? So I'm definitely gonna try to cover everything. If there's anything that I do miss, please comment down below what your questions are, and then I'm sure, like I said, if I miss something, someone will definitely comment and let you guys know, or I myself will try to get back to you as soon as I can. So the first step is to apply. And what you can do is you can go on to, let's say, delta.com, americanairlines.com, united.com, spirit.com, and go down to careers and see if they are hiring. I did go and do a little bit of research before I sat down to do this video, and I looked at the requirements for the airlines, at least the major airlines here in the US, and they all pretty much have the same requirements. So I'm going to tell you what those requirements are in a little bit, but they are usually hiring for either just English speaking flight attendants or bilingual, and sometimes it'll state what kind of language they are looking for. So it could be Italian, it could be German, Hebrew, whatever it may be. So if you guys are fluent in a different language, that is something that could possibly help you in getting the job. At the time of this video, it is January 2019, and I did see that Delta was hiring for a few bilingual positions, Spirit was hiring, American Airlines was hiring, and I don't know if United was hiring. I don't remember exactly, but double check. I do encourage you guys to do your own research. I did do as much research as I could for you, but again, make sure you do your own research. I cannot stress that enough because I am just one person and I am human, so there are a few things I probably missed. So make sure you do your own research, and that will help you in figuring out which airline works best for your lifestyle or if it's your dream airline. So definitely make sure that you do your research. So once you apply, you will have to do an assessment test, and those assessment tests are those really weird ones that you have to either strongly agree or strongly disagree, and they're a little bit tricky in my opinion. I always have trouble with those, so you will have to do one of those, and then if you do pass that portion of the interview process, then, or the application process, then you will be invited to either a face-to-face or do a video interview. I've had to do video interviews before. I did one for American and I did one for Delta, and I did get through that process, or that part of the interview process, and they were a little bit intimidating. I'm not going to lie, they were very intimidating because I had never done one before. It's very important that you take these interviews seriously, so take it like a real face-to-face. Make sure that you dress the part, make sure your makeup looks good, your hair looks good, guys, you're groomed, make sure that you're wearing a nice top, ladies, and then also make sure that you're wearing a suit if you're a guy. I wore a suit for both the face-to-face and for the video interview, and I got through. So that is something that is important too. Appearance is very important because they want to see that you are professional. They want to see that you would look good wearing their uniform and representing the brand and the airline. So after that, if you do pass the video interview, you will go to the face-to-face. Now, this varies per airline. Not every airline will fly you out to where they're interviewing. So some airlines will interview in Orlando, in Chicago, Vegas, Dallas, wherever they're having an interview. They might not fly you out there. Sometimes you might have to pay out of pocket. I know that some airlines do. They will fly you out positive seat to wherever the destination is or wherever the interview is being held at. So when you get to the face-to-face interview, that is your time to shine. This is when you really need to be yourself, a better version of yourself. Be yourself, but a better version of yourself. You don't want to be fake because they will see right through that. They will see right through the fakeness. The recruiters do this on a daily basis. They do this all the time. They can see right through it. So like I said, make sure you are yourself, but a better version of yourself. Dress the part, be friendly, be there, you know, and try to get to know everybody and show that this is the job that you want, and also have fun because this is such a fun job. And now the employment offer portion varies per airline, so I'm not really going to get into it because there are so many rumors out there about this topic, so I'm just not going to say anything. But when you do get your job offer, you will get sent over to training, and sometimes training is paid and sometimes it's unpaid depending on the airline. And you will be there for about, it could go from 1 week to 8 weeks depending on the airline, and you have to pass flight attendant training. If you don't pass flight attendant training, you unfortunately go back home with no job. So you have to really want this job because, as you can see, it is a very long process. I applied September 11th, 2014. I didn't hear back until I want to say October 9th, and that was actually really quick from what I've heard. So I applied for 3 different airlines, and I pretty much had to choose between the 3, and just based on the research that I did, I decided to go with the airline that I'm with now. If you followed me for a while, you know that I don't just straight up say which airline I work for. I'm sure you guys can figure it out, but I just don't say right out which airline I work for my own reasons, my own personal reasons, which are for me to be able to have a little bit more control of my schedule. I chose my airline. And with the bigger airlines like Delta, American, they do require for you to be on reserve pretty much for the entire course of your career with them. So reserve pretty much means that you're on call, so you are at their beck and call, and crew scheduling pretty much owns you. So they tell you where to go, they tell you when to go, and this is usually if somebody calls out or a flight attendant gets hurt or whatever the reason may be. They have a roster of people that they can choose from, and they have their own method of how they choose people. So they will call a flight attendant and they will be put on this specific flight or trip. So you can do this for 10 years, 20 years, depending on the airline, or sometimes you will just do it for a few days a month. So it all depends on the airline that you work for. And then some airlines, the smaller they are, the higher chance you have of being a line holder. And the difference between being on call and being a line holder is someone who has a set schedule for the month, and they know where they're going. They can manipulate their schedule depending on the airline again, or reserve your on call, like I said, but you only know the days off. You only know your days off. You don't know where you're going or anything like that. So definitely do your research. It does vary per airline, and there are so many flight attendant vloggers that if you're familiar with you know, the flight attendant uniforms, you can pretty much figure out where we all work. So it's pretty easy for you to be able to see, oh, okay, so she's on reserve, she's not on reserve, she's been on reserve for a long time, and so on. Now I'm going to move on to the requirements. Again, I cannot speak for any other country outside of the US because the requirements may vary. So I did go ahead and here's my phone. I did go ahead and take a few notes so that I can cover these things and let you know what the requirements are. So the first requirement is you need to have eligibility to work in the United States, and then also access in and out of the United States. So if for whatever reason you need to go out of the United States, if you do an international flight, you need to be able to come in. And by that I mean either possess a green card, so be a permanent resident, or a US citizen. So you don't necessarily have to be a US citizen. You can have a green card because you're still legal to work and live in the United States. So that is definitely acceptable as well. So another requirement is for you to be at least 21 years of age, and I believe the major carriers all require that, but I could be wrong, so again, do your own research. But I think regional carriers, so the smaller airlines, the ones that fly those really small planes that only have like 1 or 2 flight attendants, they, I think, will hire you if you're under 21. So that's a great way for you to be able to build experience and kind of figure out if this is something that you want to do, and then you can move on to the mainline carriers. I know that there are a few flight attendant vloggers here that started out as regional flight attendants, and now they are with the big guys. You need to at least have a high school diploma or a GED. So high school and a GED is pretty much all you need. You don't necessarily have to go to college, and you don't have to go to a flight attendant academy. You can if you want to. That is completely up to you if you want to spend the money and go through it. I know it makes training, flight attendant training, a lot easier for some people. So I'm not going to discourage you to look into a flight attendant academy, but I'm not going to recommend it either because I didn't have to go through it. The airline will train you. But again, if you decide to go through a flight attendant academy, that is all up to you. It is not a requirement, but it does make flight attendant training a little bit easier. So all up to you. Once you have been invited to go through training, you will have to pass a drug test, you will have to pass a background check, and you will have to get like your fingerprints and all of that done to make sure that you are eligible to work at an airline. You must be willing to relocate. So by that I mean you might not be based wherever you live right now. I used to live in Orange County, California, and my airline does not have a base in Orange County or anywhere in California. The closest one to where I was living was Vegas. So I had to make the choice with my husband and say, okay, do we want to move to Las Vegas, or here are the other bases that we can move to, or I can commute. A lot of the times airlines won't encourage you to commute, but they know that it's realistic and it could happen, especially in the airline industry. So you must be willing to relocate, because let's say you live in a very small town but you're based in a big city, there might only be 1 flight a day, 1 or 2 flights a day going out of that airport. So it's going to make it a little bit harder for you to be able to commute and show up to work. So you might have to commute. It's very stressful to commute for some people. It's very easy for some people. It all depends where you're based and where you live. So if you want to avoid all of that, you must be willing to relocate. Airlines also appreciate if you have any customer service experience. So let's say you worked at a restaurant, let's say you worked in retail, at Starbucks, Disneyland, or just any customer service experience dealing with the public or anything safety related. I used to work at a bank, so that's a lot of customer service, a lot of dealing with a lot of, let's say, escalations, let's say unhappy people and unhappy customers, and just any type of customer service experience would absolutely help you. I have seen people from that used to work at Starbucks, that used to work as nurses, people that actually used to have careers and just retired, and now they just decided to do this. So I know a lot of people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s sometimes ask me if they can be flight attendants, and like I said, I've seen people that have retired from their careers to become flight attendants. So this is just something that they do because, you know, they already did their careers and, you know, lived their career life. So this is just something that they do for fun. So now I'm going to talk about the physical aspect of the requirements. So I know a lot of people ask me height and weight. So there isn't a specific weight or height that airlines require you to be, but however, you do have to fit in a jump seat and be able to secure yourself with a harness. You do need to be able to move about the cabin without it, you know, stopping you from performing your duties. Just you have to be able to fit through emergency exits. Some airlines, during the interview process, they will have you do a reach test, meaning they will just have you take off your shoes and have you and see if you can reach their exits and stuff like that. So they have you do a reach test. You have to be able to close the overhead bins, and whatever physical condition you're in cannot stop you from doing your job. And I know I get a lot of questions about if you have special needs, if you can have this job, and I unfortunately cannot answer that because I'm not in charge of hiring other people. So I feel really bad because I can never really answer that question. But if I think it depends on your special needs and what the airline is looking for. So it's a very specific question, so I can't answer that. But like I said, do your research, and once you're applying and going through the interview process, that's when you will pretty much know. Also be aware that the job requires a lot of frequent standing, frequent walking, odd hours, and by odd hours I mean you start off in the West Coast at 10 p.m. but you land in the East Coast at 5 a.m. and you're working long days, 16-hour days, 18-hour days, for 3 to 4 days at a time, 5 days at a time, depending on the airline. So it is a very physical job. Like you have to, you know, pull your luggage, you have to push the carts, you have to lift luggage, you have to do a lot of things. So it is a physical job in my opinion. Keep in mind that those are some of the things that the job entails. Another question that gets asked pretty often is tattoos and piercings. So this does vary per airline. I have heard many different things. Some airlines will say you cannot have any visible tattoos. So meaning whatever piece of uniform you're wearing should be able to hide whatever tattoo you have. So some airlines will flat out say no tattoos whatsoever, visible, non-visible, and I would recommend that you don't lie. If you happen to be going through the interview process with an airline that says no tattoos, because I have heard of them finding out while you're doing the water ditching during training. So I highly recommend that you don't lie, and if you have any tattoos, make sure that it is very clear about the tattoo situation on the website. Sometimes it says it, sometimes it doesn't, but I have seen that it says visible tattoos or no tattoos whatsoever. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is pay, and pay varies per airline, and flight attendants are only paid for every flight hour. So whenever the door closes, that is when we start getting paid. We are paid per diem as well, which is like a couple bucks an hour for every hour that you are away from base. So that is on top of your salary. There are also different incentives depending on the airline. So whether it's commission on what you sell on board, or if you're flying international, or if you're a different language speaker, if you're bilingual, or if you're flying to a specific destination or position that you are flying. So there are different incentives. That's why it's kind of hard to say exactly how much flight attendants get paid. I know some airlines will start you off at $20 an hour, some will start you at $27, some will start you at $25. So again, research is very important when it comes to that. And flight attendants are paid by the hour. So some airlines will also pay you during training and some will not. You will have to definitely prepare for that, because when you are away during flight attendant training, you might not be paid for however long you're there. So definitely plan ahead, make sure that you have something set up for you to be able to get through those weeks, because like I said, it's unpaid and it could be hard for some of us. So I think that is all the information that I have for you today. I think I covered everything that I looked at online. Let me know if you guys have any other questions down in the comments down below. And like I said, if I didn't cover anything, someone can definitely answer your question, or I will go back and see what I can do. Research is very important. There are a lot of flight attendant vloggers on YouTube now. When I first started, there was only a few of us. So I'm really excited to see how many flight attendant vloggers there are now, especially while I was gone during maternity leave. So if I'm not able to answer something, someone else will definitely be able to answer. And don't just count on us flight attendant vloggers, because there's very few things we can talk about. There are some things we can't show and say because of privacy and security reasons. You can imagine why. So don't just rely on us for this information. Do your research online, go to different websites, and yeah, that is all I have for you today. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that I was able to help you out. Good luck on this journey. It is a very lengthy and sometimes stressful journey, but once you step foot on that aircraft, everything is worth it. And I've been doing it for 4 years, like I said, and I would absolutely have it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love my job. I love the people that I've met through this journey. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if it's your first time here. Make sure that you click your notification bell so that you never miss a video. Make sure you're also following me over on my socials, and I will see you guys over in my next video. Bye guys.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see